Oh well. Got you hooked yet? Yeah, all the off-camera work last vid to get the materials for the example tunnel last time effectively wiped out my remaining food, so we're gonna do this intro while I fish up some new rations for this video. Might have to do it again later if I'm planning to be more active as well, we'll see. Moving on though, before we talk about what I need to, we should talk about the new thing. Hey, nailed that first try. Never mind everything already down there. We shall talk about the new thing you can actually see now, even if it's probably the least important part of everything here. And yes, it might have been terrible to start the video on a pun, but I feel like I've earned that. Alright, back to the thing in the corner. The day counter. A comment on the last video, well, more specifically, the video before the last video, and I really do need to come up with a better way to differentiate these videos. Like some sort of category system, but I'll have to think about that later. Anyway, a comment said that they wanted to see a day counter, so I managed to root around and find a setting that allowed me to do that. So that's up there now. I wouldn't pay much attention to it personally. It will provide more context for the amount of time certain actions take. I mean, if you're familiar with the length of a Minecraft day anyway. But when you consider that I might randomly decide to skip some nights or work through them, especially if I'm down mining, it really shouldn't be too surprising if you see a couple of big jumps or if some things seem to take longer or shorter than they really should. I do regret not having it on last video, but I only got that comment in the editing stage of the video, well after I was done recording, so it did show up for a bit in a postscript editing section that I added on after the fact, but it was too late to implement it in the video itself. And heaven knows I certainly doesn't keep track of it well enough that I could have guesstimated, I suppose, it on other parts of the video. And now it's raining. Really glad that I have a clock. Clocks are good for trying to tell the time when it's weathering. So, do regret that, but it's here now to stay. Again, don't pay too much attention to it because it's not really gonna affect me or the narrative, so to speak. I might do something special when it hits 1,000, but considering I'll probably lose track of time by the time it does, and by the time I realize it'll probably be after day 1,000, again, it's more for your benefit than mine. That said, you might notice that this intro might feel a bit awkward compared to most, and I know they're all kind of awkward. The rain actually makes it a bit hard to see the bubbles. Anyway, that's because I decided to script this intro. Mostly to minimize the effects of messing up and to make sure that I didn't forget anything major that I needed to say up front. I'm actually half decent at making scripts, even if I do think the effort generally isn't worth it, because sure, I can write a script, but following it, that's trickier. That's way trickier. Like, I'm already skipping or rearranging the words in my head as I read off of it, but never mind that. Moving on. So, the results of the last video. Dang it, missed that one. I am very happy with it. While it is a bit slower to gather up views, it only passed 100 or so by the time I started recording this one, actually. It earned me no less than 3 Actually, 4 now in the time I was writing the script. Thank you very greatly for that, and I do heavily appreciate it. But moving on, 4 subscribers was earned from the last video. So by all accounts that I care about, even if it was a bit slow on the uptake when it came to views, it was an unmitigated success by every metric I care about. While there might, well, actually, there might have been some mitigating factors, but it still did well enough despite that, so again, moving on. It's making me very hopeful for the future. I am almost certain that it's all but guaranteed that I'll reach 250 subs by the end of the year, which is halfway to basic monetization. And while I am happy with making consistent, if slow, progress, I'm feeling a little foolish. But before I lay down the gauntlet, let me preface things a little bit. In the last video, I took a small bit of risk, as I was experimenting with the floors of the new tunnels. I was left unsure which floor and which flooring style that I wanted to go with. I came up with 4 options: plain cobblestone, checkerboard pattern concrete, all white concrete, or all black concrete. While I was fine with any option ultimately, I personally preferred either all white or all black concrete. The checkerboard pattern and the pure cobblestone flooring didn't really stick out in my head all that much, so I was thinking that I will ignore those and pick one of the other two. But I decided to still provide the option and came up with a terrible idea: to ask the comments to vote on it. And it went rather well. I received no less than 3 votes in the comments about it. 2 of those votes ultimately went with checkerboard, which was a bit funny since the voting thing was a spur of the moment decision, and the one that won was one of my least favorite options. But I am still okay with all 4 of the floors that I went with, so if y'all prefer the checkerboard pattern, and I don't mind it, then I'm more than happy to oblige it. Though, the one of you who voted for the all-white concrete pattern, I do see you, and I do appreciate you. So, with this prefaced, let me reveal what I'm building up towards. Here's where I lay down the gauntlet, so to speak. I'm setting a subscriber goal. If this video gets the channel up to 250 subscribers within 48 hours of uploading, I'm going to put a special surprise in the video coming up next. And I've already got a lot planned for it as is. I'm not going to reveal just what it is yet, but in the scope of things, it's not going to be terribly huge. Something that I could do with or without, but that takes significant personal effort on my part. If you make it worth that effort, I'll gladly put it in. If not, no skin off my back, so to speak. Nobody will miss it, least of all me. And it's getting too dark to really fish by, so let's go ahead and nap. Let's skip this infernal rain. Oh, and one hint as for what that surprise might entail. It might involve the 6 books in my inventory here. That said, I do reckon I've said all I needed to say. There could be more that I add and more that I'm forgetting, which I can never entirely count out, no matter how much I try to compensate for it. But even if it wasn't, the script is nearly 1,000 words and took me an hour to write, so I figure that even if I have forgotten something, I've said my piece well enough. We'll reconvene in the bunker after I'm done catching and cooking all the fish that I need for more specific video goals, and I'll keep that bit much shorter to compensate for the longer videos, since I don't know how 1,000 words typed translates to words spoken. In this case, though, I can say that it equals about 10 minutes now that I'm done actually saying it. So, see you in the bunker. Oh, and of course, I will mention the treasures that I fished up before we end up going there, rest assured. Alright, all done fishing. Look at my stacks. And going over all the treasure we got. Name tags, saddles, nautilus shells, all that good junk is already in the junk. As for the actual treasures, a stick, truly the most valuable commodity out there. A lure 3 unbreaking 3 fishing rod, a water bottle, which is good for the glass alone, as in the glass bottle. I don't think there's a way to turn a bottle back into glass. A curse of vanishing flame bow. Flame is a very interesting enchantment, but not one I can really play around with. Unbreaking 3 fishing rod, power 4 mending bow. Pretty powerful. Could be more powerful, but pretty powerful. Luck of the Sea 2 Unbreaking 3 fishing rod, Curse of Vanishing Unbreaking 3 fishing rod, an almost perfect fishing rod. If only if it was Luck of the Sea 3 instead of 2. But Luck of the Sea 2, Lure 2, Unbreaking 3, Mending. Sharpness 3 Enchanted Book, Power 4 Unbreaking 3 and Mending Bow, pretty good. And a Punch 1 Infinity Bow. Hi there. You may notice that this is taking place postscript. Let's just say something funny happened to the original footage, and I decided that it would have been easier to re-record this portion instead of trying to fix it. So, moving on. Let's make this quick. Task number 1. Replace the rest of the floors. You all voted for checkerboard. I didn't like it at first, or I didn't like it as much as the other options, but now that I've had time to think about it, I do think the contrasting pattern is for the best, especially with a monotone material palette, making that contrast difficult to manage otherwise. Task number 2, gather more materials under the tower. Because while my current material palette is monotone, I do intend to expand my options, especially in terms of bricks. I want deep slate to make the bottom corners of these tunnels either deep slate bricks or deep slate tiles. Probably bricks, but I'm not 100% committed on that yet. And I also want to gather a lot of tuff because a comment suggested using them for the top corners, and I did quite like the look of it, but I want to gather a decent stockpile before I make a committed decision on that. As for the concerns, these are more concerning the eventual pseudo/semi story that I'm building up towards. Concern number 1, differentiating the self, me, from the avatar, who you're looking at right now. The avatar is essentially going to be their own character, and as for their characterization, well, let's just say you're gonna get to see a hint of that later on. As for concern number 2, infusing a self into the golems, I use the word characterization here, but I now think I should have used the word humanization. I feel like that itself tells you what I want to say better than any practiced or unpracticed words could. But I will say that something that subscriber goal I mentioned earlier, Well, let's just say it might play into this. Something special might happen in the next video if we reach that goal. Hint, hint. But otherwise, there will be some environmental storytelling in this video that'll give you some hints on where things might be going, at least for a few of the golems. That said, enough of this. Let's move on with things, shall we? Another postscript thing just to let you all know what actually ended up happening in this video. So first off, well, I had a little bubble coral set up so that I could grab more sea cucumbers. Not for any particular reason, I just wanted more of them. But unfortunately, these Frostwalker boots have proven to be more trouble than they're worth, and they wound up dead. Because apparently ice does not suffice as water. So that's two mistakes that I've made with bubble coral in this video, and you'll see the first mistake later. That said, I also expanded the cranberry farm. Sweet berry. But they're basically cranberries. Though, now that I think about it, maybe not, since as far as I remember, cranberries aren't actually all that sweet. Other than that, let's see. What the? Apparently, I forgot to replace the bamboo farm last time I made some. I'm gonna have to fix that. Otherwise, I already have plenty of gold and diamonds, but I actually find my first ores of them in this video later on. Gold I find in the main structure down here, or the main cavity that's going to be filled with the structure. And diamonds I find nearer to the end of the video when I fall down several holes. As for construction, well, I stockpiled as much as I could, and I did get started on it, but it wasn't enough to build the rest of the tunnels. But I did build the next tunnel still, and I do think it looks quite nice. If anything, I like the pale oak almost as much as I do the dark oak, if not more so. So I make the decision to make the north-south hallways pale oak and the east-to-west hallways dark oak. I say that later in the video, but I figured I'd reiterate that here. I might replace this grass path with something. I have it out of cobblestone over there, but maybe this should be part of the checkerboard pattern too? I don't make that decision this video, so it's the wrong time to make it here. But let me know if you want that to also be included in the next video, where I will have enough glass to finish the rest of the tunnels. I need more amethyst. Despite having like 24 stacks of them, it wasn't quite enough, but I reckon 8 more stacks should do, since I do have... let me double check. I do have the glass for one of the tunnels. Each tunnel takes 5 stacks of glass plus 2 extra. No, I will need more amethyst. How much is a bit hard to say, though hopefully not as much as before. But I should be able to stockpile the resources in the next video, since I already have enough for another as it is, plus a little extra. And also, you might notice Dilly here. I'm gonna leave that for later. I'm not gonna give you any hints now, but I did manage to catch that moment, and you won't want to miss it. Heaven knows I loved capturing it. That said, gotta do it again. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really like to reach that goal so I can justify the effort to put extra effort, or even more effort, into the next video. But otherwise, we can only do our best. Take care. Just enough pickaxe durability. Alright. Let's go ahead and fill these in before I make a new path entirely on the other side. Truthfully, there's a lot I could say, but I have no idea where I will even begin. Let me tell you, the second week has been a real roller coaster because I make these videos over the course of 2 weeks. The first week is the bulk of recording and editing, while the second week would be the finer touches and the additional details. And something happened right around the end of the first week as I was done with the bulk of the editing that made the second week a bit complicated. Nothing physically happened, but it was rather difficult to give things the proper focus they deserve, especially when it came to more creative pursuits. What I'm saying is, I don't like the music as much. I do still think that this music that I made is better than the first track I made for the video before the last one. Or would it be before the last one? Really need to work on that organizing system. But it was still serviceable, and if I was gonna spend any more time on it, I would have spent the rest of the week on it, and then it would have been right here, and I wouldn't have had time for anything else. So I had to ship it as is. Oh, and before I forget again, yes, this is the voiceover, and it's actually voiceover part 1 of 2. There's another bit coming up later, or at least there should be a bit coming up later that also has more voiceover in it. I should have announced this first, but again, scatterbrained and hard to focus, but I should get it right when the second part comes along. That said, let's get on with today's topic, I suppose. Despite me worrying due to that thing that happened at the beginning of the week, ultimately, it turns out that the worst thing that would happen is the threat of that thing happening. The thing itself doesn't actually materialize. And I do kind of feel silly worrying about it now, but hey, when something is coming up, or you feel like something is coming up, there's only so much you can do to prepare. And obviously you can prepare for the thing happening, but you can't very well do that and also prepare for the fact that it might not actually happen. I mean, granted, there are technically some things you can do in either case, but they are very much cross purposes. You can either fully prepare for something to happen, putting time, money, and effort into making sure that it can best be accommodated, or you can fully ignore it and go on with things as if there was no chance of it happening, or you can sort of half bake it and half prepare everything so that if it does happen, you have something there, even if it's half-baked, but if nothing happens, you don't lose all that much throwing it away. But that just doesn't really work out in practice. There's only so many things you can health prepared for in that manner anyway. That being said, I should probably talk about what's happening in the actual video by now. Huh. Well, right now I'm laying down the concrete powder for the last pathway, the one that was originally made of cobblestone. And obviously, unlike the all white and all black paths where I could just alternate the concrete there, basically rip up half the concrete in one, rip up the other half of concrete from the other, and then just swap their places essentially. For the cobblestone, I did actually have to put more powder down and turn that into concrete. I don't think it's a terrible process. It's not like you could realistically make concrete straight into its solid form. You can't do that in real life, after all. Even if you don't have to worry about all of the curing and drying and actually moistening. You do have to moisten real concrete quite a bit if you want it to turn out perfectly. Well, I guess it depends on the kind of concrete, but I'm getting sidetracked here. I don't mind the process, it's just that putting down the buckets of water on it all over the place is a bit of a pain, because if it's not in a perfectly constrained environment, hardly any of it gets covered, and if there's like a gap where there's a lower level, Minecraft water physics kinda just directs the water directly to that gap on the shortest possible path. I guess so that it doesn't look as funky when you get a bunch of weird terrain near to each other, so that it directly heads to the lowest point. But honestly, that looks weird on its own, if I'm being honest. That said, what that means is that you basically have to put the water on a bunch of blocks individually, which I do find kind of annoying, but it is funny watching it, so that's why I left it in here. Alright, I reckon that'll be enough for this first voiceover. I'll go ahead and see you again in the second part later on. Oh, and for the record, I don't actually announce the drawing this time around. There is a very good reason for that, let's just say. Alright, task 1 complete. Back down to the mine. Oh, just a quick update. I successfully made a quote-unquote sea pickle farm. I managed to buy some bubble coral blocks from a wandering trader that's currently wandering on top of the ring, and I made this little spot for him. Of course, I think you can only grow more sea pickles if you encourage them with bone meal. And I did, admittedly. Well, no, I didn't forget. I just plain old didn't know it, that if you try to plant coral blocks without water, they instantly die. So, fixed that. Got some water on them. They're doing just fine. Huh. So, couldn't help but notice that there's a missing dirt block here. And the missing torch. And the lava right where that torch might have fallen. I really hate Enderman. Aw, I'm so glad I managed to catch that moment. Dilly earned their own flower now. And... I knew it was you, Kurt. What a sweet moment. Oh, hey, another quantum torch. How neat. Pop. There you go. Well, shoot. The fact that I touch down, quote unquote, means the seal has to be extended in that direction. But I'm pretty sure this also goes a while in that direction. So yeah, that complicates matters significantly because now it has to be sealed off in that direction. AKA, this cave has to be sealed off in at least 3 different directions before I can confidently start mining into it properly. Fun. And there's no telling whether that fourth direction over in that way might not eventually be involved as well. This isn't the worst case scenario, not yet, but, well, it's still very easily a long term hazard. Huh, gold. Didn't expect to run into that anytime soon, but here we are. Yeah, I think it's time to bite the bullet and just bucket this lava up. First, though, I gotta make a bucket. Got it. Day 999. It's almost time. Come tomorrow, I'll remove the little black box on my hotbar there, and the story, such as it is, will begin. Alright, there we go. Day 1000. I have to wonder, when did all of this begin? I'm not actually curious, though. Not enough to do anything about it. But I have to wonder, right? But every time I try to think about it, it just feels like everything I am is just what's left over from someone else. The bits left behind. I'm not suffering, though. It's not like I'm actually depressed. It's just that everything I do and feel feels muted somehow. Dumbed down. Worthless, but still not worthless. Like everything I feel and do happens to someone else, and they just tell me about it after. Eh, might as well just get on with things. Here's to another 1,000. Alright, all done fishing. Let's look at the haul. The fish, of course. Fortune 2 Aqua Affinity. An Unbreaking 3 Mending Fishing Rod. I'm pretty sure I have like 4 of these by now. 3 pieces of rotten meat. A Luck of the Sea 2 Unbreaking 3 Fishing Rod. 1 stick. A Power 3 Unbreaking 3 Bow. A piece of leather. A Sharpness 3 Piercing 3 Mending book. Very nice. That gets added to the pile. A Punch 2 Unbreaking 3 Mending bow. Not terrible. A Lure 2 Mending fishing rod. Not kinda bad, but not that bad. Unbreaking 3 fishing rod. Curse of Vanishing Power 3 Unbreaking 3 bow. Curse of Vanishing Power 4 Flame Punch 1 Mending bow, which is really something. Piercing 3, Protection 3, Efficiency 3 book, Power 3, Unbreaking 3 bow, and a couple pieces of string, which I always desperately need. Alright, put everything away. Time to see what we can do about construction. Hi again, and yes, as you can guess, this is indeed the second voiceover. Now, before I get into more practical and, let's call it, logistical concerns, I do hope you enjoyed the snippet of story, and hey, if you haven't already seen Dawn, then you kinda missed her. Guess you gotta watch the video again to find where she was. Told you I wouldn't announce it. But I did say the first voiceover before she showed up, so there's your hint. Somewhere between the first voiceover and this one. Though I reckon she'll be hard to miss, at least for those of you who are actually watching the video. Now, that said, this will be the last art asset Dulcera Day does for me that will largely show up in the videos themselves. They are still doing something else for me, however, but that's going to be a secret. But yes, it is indeed one of the big things that's going to be a surprise in the next video. Unless I already said it at some point before this. If I did, oops, but I will. But it'll be a surprise to those of you who only caught this bit and nothing else. Though I will say that the work they are doing is going to be more involved, so they may or may not be able to show up. Their art, I should specify, may or may not be able to show up for every video after. Mostly because they, of course, have their own obligations, which is more than reasonable. Honestly, I'm surprised it took this long for something to go wrong, and for it to happen in a scheduled sort of manner. Well, honestly, it's pleasantly surprising. Obviously, I will prefer if things were otherwise, of course, but hey, if something bad is gonna happen, I love getting noticed for it. Unless it makes things worse, but you know, there's few bad things that are actively made worse by foreknowledge, right? Unless maybe you're getting scolded by a parent, I guess. Some of them do take offense if you try to cut off their lectures. But that's a different story entirely. Now, on to more practical concerns. I do recognize that I'm not doing things in the most efficient manner. Manner or matter? No, that one's definitely manner. For example, I want these covered tunnels to be made out of these slate bricks. I literally have a cave that goes down to deep slate layer. I could just go down there, purposefully dig up a bunch of deep slate, and then come right back up and build those tunnels. Properly, I should say. But that's not really the point, is it? The construction projects I do on the side are supposed to be something that distracts from the monotony of simply digging what in the end is nothing more than a big old hole in the ground. Granted, that hole is going to be filled up with something infinitely more interesting, unless there are any fancy structures between here and there, but that comes much, much later. I'm still hard to say how far away from Deep Slate naturally, but still a good distance away, especially if I'm only digging maybe 4 blocks deeper max every video. Because turns out when you split your attention like that, you don't make as much progress in any one area. And arguably I could get this done faster had I focused, or if I focus on doing one thing and then another. But that wouldn't be nearly as interesting to watch, and frankly, it wouldn't be nearly as interesting to do either. Splitting things up like this does, I wouldn't say confuse me. Complicates things for me, certainly. And it does mean that I make less progress overall, or do so at a slower rate. It's only with hindsight that I could say for sure if splitting things up like this would actually end up saving time, or if I do lose more time out of it. But honestly, that's kind of irrelevant at this point. I am having fun, and I hope you find the videos interesting to watch. Heaven knows you did if you made it this far in, at least. So, happy to say that if you're listening to this, I'm doing something right. And if you're not listening to this, well, you'll never know, but I will, and rest assured, I will be bummed out about it. That said, while I do have quite a bit of hope for the future, I'm almost certain that we'll reach that subscriber goal, or at least reach it within a video or two. I'm not going to be so optimistic that I believe we'll smash it first try I set one. But ultimately, I am afraid. I'm frequently afraid, but this time I'm afraid that, again, I simply found myself in another coincidence, a pattern of coincidence, so to speak, where I have a couple of successes in a row, maybe even as many as 3, only for things to fall off again. I hope not. I've really done all I can to be as consistent as possible, and I have done significantly better than last year. At least in terms of consistency, though I haven't yet had any videos that broke. Well, no, that's a lie. Not an intentional lie, but one that came from misremembering things. Some videos, a couple I think, did break 500 views, which was bigger than that 400 view video. But still, none have broken 1,000 views. That's my next goal, to consistently break view counts of 1,000. But of course, that's a secondary goal compared to getting more subscribers so that I could actually start earning money from this YouTube thing. Granted, it won't be much, especially at first, but once I'm earning some money, I can definitely only justify me spending even more time and resources into it. More time and effort, I should say. Resources depends on money, and money depends on having money. Kind of an odd cycle there, don't you think? To make money, you have to usually spend at least some money. Of course, there is some expectation of support. One where costs can be deferred until you actually start earning money to pay back something that, by the time you actually earn anything, becomes rather nebulous. What am I even saying? If you ever try... Here's a word of advice. If you ever try to justify your existence by trying to calculate the debt you've accrued on behalf of others, don't. Like, just don't do that. You're not going anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere by thinking like that. Those kinds of debts, while real in the most technical sense of the term, should not really be considered when you're thinking about your own self-worth as a person. A person cannot be evaluated, not by any financial means, anyway. Gosh, that really got away from me. Alright, I've got a bit more than a minute or so left after that travesty that was whatever I was thinking of getting away from me. So let me just go ahead and reiterate some things that I've already said throughout the video. If you somehow missed it, we are aiming for 250 subscribers within 48 hours of uploading the video you're watching right now. If we succeed in reaching that goal, there will be a special surprise in the next video, and there's a secret other surprise that I'll be able to slip in. If I'm able to slip it in, that you'll see nearer to the end of this video, so keep watching if you want a hint of what might be coming up. Other than that, let's see. Dulceride is working on something big for the next video, though that will be the last time we see their art in a while, I am afraid. Other than that, next video should be the one where I finish the rest of the covered tunnels. I'm not gonna do off-screen mining. I should be able to gather what I need just going along with things in the next video. So, that said, wrapping things up, please enjoy the rest of the video, but that's the end of this future-proofing. Alright, well, I am happy to say that I do like the pale wood undertone just as much as a dark oak undertone, so I am gonna be able to alternate those. The west to east halls are going to be the dark oak, the north to south halls are going to be the pale oak. That said, I apparently underestimated just how much tinted glass I'd need. It took 5 stacks and a little extra in order to completely cover that with tinted glass, and it would have been even worse had I went with one of my original ideas and had the entire walls made of glass instead of just the top bit. Needless to say, I don't have quite enough tinted glass for that. I have enough for one more hole, but not enough for both. It looks like that's going to be pushed off to the next video. I didn't want it to be, but I only have my own poor planning to blame. That said, it do look good. Alright, in the meantime, I ain't gonna waste time. Let's get on with it. Actually, I am running quite low on iron. You know what? These pickaxes I made for opening up tunnel spaces kinda make them the odd ones out, since I usually make them in sets of 8. Since a cave entrance is so generously sitting right here, I might as well use it. Let's see what we can find. Well, hey. Looks like falling down a hole has its uses sometimes. My first mine shaft and all I got out of it was string. Not bad. Was everything perfect? No. Did everything go to plan? No. Did I manage to do everything that I wanted to do? No. Is it good enough? Sure thing. Alright, one moment. Just gotta hug all my golems before I go. Bert. Bon. Bert. Don. Dally. And Dilly. Hope you all enjoyed for what it's worth, and I really hope you liked the teaser, so to speak, for what I'm planning for later. That said, thank you all for watching, and hey, one extra tidbit. This is a bonus only known to those who actually made it this far in the video. If you make it to 250 subscribers, as in if enough people subscribe that this channel gets to 250 subscribers, I'll actually play this disc on camera, so you can actually hear it. Or at least I'll try to. If I get in trouble with copyright, I'll be forced to cut it out, of course, but save the future. Save worrying for the future. That's it. Once again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all again in just another couple of weeks. Take care, all.